Hello and welcome everyone to the painting stream. My dad will probably be joining us soon. This is a stream where we paint 3D miniatures that we use in our D&D stream. My dad's been working on this house here. He'll probably be joining us shortly. And I am working on this crypt, which is getting close to done. I might finish it today. We use 3D models that we print ourselves on these 3D printers over here. If you're interested in seeing the creators of these models that we use to print, you can go to our website, dicendungeons.com, and they're all listed under the attributions page. We do our stream at 2 p.m. Eastern on Sundays. So if you're interested in seeing some of these models in action, feel free to check us out there. Where I'm at on this right now, actually, is I'm just doing a little more cleanup. I'm almost done, as you can see. I have to clean up some bronze and some of the stone base. But I'm almost at the point now where I'm going to start doing all of the finishing, the weathering and the shading that will make this look like a very dark and ancient crypt. So I'm going to just get started on that, and if anyone pops on, has any questions or anything like that, feel free to shoot them in chat. Otherwise, I'm gonna be just painting along. I might talk about what I'm doing, but yeah, feel free to throw any questions, comments, things like that in the chat. I'm gonna start off by cleaning up the bronze part of this. So I have a lot of bronze accents throughout, including this big bronze door and on the pillars and everything. And I finished up all this marble work last time. And now I want to just go through each piece of bronze, make sure it's got the right coverage that I want. And, just sort of add it one bit at a time and so I get through it. Like this top bronze piece got a little worn from me handling it over time, so I'm just gonna spruce that up a little. Just make the undercoats on all of this look a little more full before they get aged and weathered. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy though. But yeah, so just going along, getting each little section, getting paint on my hands. That's always an important part, so that I can accidentally get paint somewhere I don't want it. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with how the roof is. And I know on these pillars, there were a couple spots I accidentally got a little silver, or it was a little thinner than I wanted, so I'm just gonna touch those up. And then I'm gonna hit the door, which doesn't have too much touch up to do. Yeah, here's a spot where I got some silver from the statues in the wrong spot. Yeah, that's looking better. And now I'm gonna hit this door. There's only a couple spots that really need touching up, namely along the edges where I have this silver iron border. And a couple spots where the paint's a little thinner. And it didn't get fully covered. So there we go. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And now I'm going to finish up the base, the bottom stone part of this crypt. To do that, I will need to find my neutral gray and my dark gray. So right now it has a dark gray coat along the hole of the bottom, and there are a couple spots that I need to clean up. Namely, areas where I mostly just sort of got some paint where I didn't want it, some splash from like the statue's feet, or the bottoms of the pillars mostly. The most egregious one is there. I got quite a bit of white on the bottom. And that happens, and it's no big deal, because you can just paint right over it. So I'm just taking a small brush and carefully going over all of these parts to cover up those mistakes. Another spot where I'm gonna get a fair amount of fixing is wherever the silver that I did for the iron is, because it's a slightly runnier pigment and it ends up spreading a little more than I necessarily want all the time. Alright, this is going along better than expected. And it doesn't really show all that much, a lot of these little cleanups, but it just sort of contributes to an overall more cohesive look. To get, you know, some of these small splotches that are probably going to honestly be mostly covered when I do the wash, but having a good solid base gives you a having it complete from the base just gives you that much more of a foundation to work with when you're doing all the fun weathering parts. So it's a little time consuming, but it's worth it in the end. Alright. And I am almost all the way around. So, I've cleaned up my little stone bottom here. So I'm gonna cap this off and clean up my brush. And then my next plan is I'm gonna take the neutral gray, which is a slightly lighter gray, and on this piece, there's like these sort of cobblestone rock parts. I'm gonna just randomly make some of them lighter gray to give some variation in the stone itself. You know, make it nice and straightforward. Get my cap off. There we go. Alright. And I am keeping in mind I have some wet paint I'm working with. This paint I use does dry fairly quickly, which is nice, but it doesn't dry instantaneously. So I should just be aware. I have a cat here. So I'm just gonna choose randomly some stones that are in the base here to convert into this light gray. And just sort of get them colored in. So you can see that stone at the edge there. Here's one such example. I'm not going to go too crazy with this. I just, you know, I feel like having that variation can really stand out a little. Just going along like that. And I might, you know, I'll do one pass, look it over, come back, see if I want to add any more anywhere. All part of it. I want to get a reasonable distribution of these lighter gray stones. I feel like this one needs to be lighter gray. You know, something like that will really just kind of make a visual breakup of this sort of monolithic dark gray that I think really helps sell the piece visually. I feel like that's pretty good. And these are all gonna get shaded down when I get to the final version, the weathering. So, well, I can show you. It'll look a bit more like this stonework here on these stairs. Just sort of give it a little pop. And when I'm putting in the gray on these inside parts, I have to be extra careful to not cause myself a big mess I'll have to fix later. Which is very much within the realm of possibility for me. One little thing I like to do to make sure I'm getting the proper areas, I basically outline and then fill in. Makes it just a little bit easier to not accidentally paint an area I didn't want painted. When doing scenery like this. Just slowly coming along. You know, looking at it, I feel like this gap is a little too wide. I'm gonna make this one a gray stone as well. Hi, you all. Welcome to chat. Right now I am putting in light gray along the base of my crypt here most of the way around, and I've done cleanup. Things are looking reasonable. No sound from me. I'm getting reading. Oh. Were you mute? Did you have your volume down? Alright. Right now I am just putting in these light gray stones so I can finish up this crypt, which is almost done finally. Today's the big day for weathering and shading. Once I get through this last little part. Got one little wraparound left, basically. Alright, I'm just gonna do this one last stone here. Then I feel like I'm ready to do washes. Alright. So, just sort of randomly place some gray stones all around this base to sort of give it some variation. And since that part is wet and drying, I'm gonna start my washing on the roof, which is currently a separate piece and will get glued together today or maybe next time, depending. Wash can take a while to dry compared to the other paints I use, because it's such a thin, wet paint. It has a tendency to take a while to dry, and that will probably mean that I'll be waiting until next time to glue together the top and bottom. So, I know I'm going to be using a lot of black wash for this, and I'm planning on the bottom part here to use a umber wash on the silver parts to give a rusted iron look. But for the majority of this, I want it to be to just look weathered and aged, and to accomplish that, I'm going to be using this black wash. It's very thin, so it comes out very transparent, and since I'm doing pretty much everything in it, I'm going to be using a larger brush, which will just get me more area and coverage. And what it will do is really sit in the cracks and crevices and edges and ledges of this piece. You can see how much it's toning down this brass. And because this is an old crypt, I really don't want to be too stingy with my black wash. I'm a-okay with it pooling and creating like this grimy layer over everything. So giving you a little sense of how much darker everything will be. I'm gonna need quite a bit of black wash for this, and I do end up getting this everywhere. Sort of how I am with it. The main thing I'm looking to avoid actually is areas where I don't get the wash, because they will stand out like a sore thumb. And I am kind of letting gravity work with me here. Rainfall, things like that, that would have hit the top of this crypt are gonna go into the same areas that the wash is going. So having it be sort of dark and grimy along the inside edge of this roof, for example, is a-okay with me. And once I get everything wet with wash, I can actually grab a little splotches of wash and sort of splotch it in areas where I want extra pigment to be. Go along the front here. And this is an old structure, so I am not at all being sparing with my wash here. I want this to look old and grimy and worn. This has little spots here on the front that will hold the wash really well. And this model is really nice because it has a lot of little intricate detail that will sink in really well where I apply wash. So you can sort of see the difference, and it's wet and it will dry slightly differently, but like unwashed, washed, it really tones everything down and makes it old. And here's my dad.
Hi. There's other technical stuff going on another part of the basement, and I couldn't walk through that.
Yep.
And disturb that, so I had to wait.
Yeah, I thought that would be a problem, but
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to paint the roof. That should be boring with appropriately named paint, flat earth. Oh, that makes a big difference. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. A lot darker and moodier.
Get some brush washer here.
And this is a very wash heavy job.
See if I can empty the bottle on this.
With what are you using?
Flat earth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one's pretty low. It's a very useful brown. Hi, how's it going? Oh, well, no problem. Everyone has Wi-Fi issues, just glad you could make it. Right now I am working on Crypt weathering, so you can see the color, the base coat color, and sort of where it's heading to make it this very dark, moody Crypt.
And I'm using a large brush and painting this very large roof surface in a brown color. And then when that's done, we'll be adding some highlights. Basically, just an alternative color for some of the roof tiles.
But yeah, if you have any questions about what we're doing, how we're doing it, things like that, feel free to just throw them in chat. Otherwise, you can just sit back and relax while we paint away. This is where it starts to get tricky with the wash, because it stays wet a lot longer, and I need to still, you know, handle it. But I'm at this last little panel here, so I'm gonna just do it on the table. And then I'll give it a once over to really make sure I've gotten everywhere. And since it's such an ancient, decrepit, worn down structure, I'm going a little heavy-handed with the wash, more than I normally do. Sometimes I'll just use it as a light shader to just add a little bit of like oomph and depth to a piece. But in this case, I really don't want it to be anywhere near as bright as the base coat makes it. So. And now that it's wet, I can actually disperse sort of splotches of wash in select areas. Hit these statues, make sure they're looking grimy and moody. Getting all these little crevices, let gravity work with me.
Gravity is usually not your friend. That will require some touching up.
And this is actually pretty fun just because I don't have to be too careful because this is not a crypt that's being kept up in my, well, sort of head story, in story within my head of it. And as such, it's just gonna have spots where it's kind of falling apart and filth is built up. So I'm gonna let that dry a little. And it will lighten up over time as it dries. That's an expected part of this. But my base should be dry enough to work now. And I think I'll start at the back here. Now the main thing I want to be careful of when I'm doing the back is I'm intending for all this silver to be done with an umber wash, so it has a rusted look to it rather than this black wash. So I don't want to go too over the top around that. If I get a little splash here and there, it's really not going to show for how we're using these pieces. But I do want to generally avoid getting it where I don't want it to be. So in these spaces around the silver, I'm just going to be a little more careful. The nice thing is these brick parts have a very deep inset groove to them, and the wash is going to just slide right into place in a lot of them. Which is what I want, because it will really bring out sort of, you can see that brick. And I'll honestly probably let this dry a little bit before I rotate it, because the wash is so wet and thin. It will run out of areas where I would like it to stay, namely these like cracks in the brick. And by just letting it dry a little while, sitting upright like this, it's just gonna stay in those spots a bit better. And this will do a similar thing with the stonework here. Get a little bit more wash. This crypt is a wash heavy piece.
Yeah, there's a lot of surface area. Well, the roof is now half brown, mostly. You have to go back, and once the paint dries, sometimes you see spots that didn't get covered. So I'll go over that, and then I'll have to do some touch up on these wooden beams where the paint got onto it in a couple of places. Oh, well.
It's bound to happen.
Mm-hmm.
working my way down these pillars, and I'm almost got this part done. And the silver is gonna really stand out because we're against all the darkened, washed portions of this crypt. Because I'm sort of saving them for last. And once I get this other pillar set, I'm actually going to take a paper towel and pull back some of the wash that got on the silver. One nice thing about wash is because it takes a little while to dry, and it's so thin, it's really easy to pick it back up with a paper towel. So if you get it in a spot where you don't really want it, you can just take a little paper towel rag like this, put it into like a point basically, and sort of suck up most of the wash. You're never going to get all of it, obviously, but just cleaning up some of these silver parts where I want to use a different color wash. It's really quite easy. And there's some faces in the marble here that I want to enunciate, so I'm just going to put a little extra wash in some of like where the eyes are to try and get at that sense of depth. So I'm not going to turn that over yet to show, but while that is drying enough, I don't need it to be completely dry. I'm just going to come in on my roof here and do a little detailing with some of the wash. So you can just add little shaded, extra shaded spots in your wash and break up where maybe like, so because of the nature of the 3D printing, we use a PLA printing. Sometimes it can slide into some grooves and give you a harsher line than you want. And you can just pop in with some wash on the brush and break up some of those lines, make it a little less exact. So since those are drying, I am going to pull out our prints and start some new ones.
And I'm going to continue painting the roof. And once this dries, I'm going to do some just sort of random shingles in a darker color. Just so it doesn't look totally boring. Kind of like roof repairs, maybe little one here and there, and then maybe a cluster, 3 or 4 where a branch fell or a storm, or they just rotted because wooden shingles.
So one of our upcoming projects that we're going to be doing once we're through with these is we have these river pieces there. This is just 3D printed, it hasn't been primed yet, but there's sort of this water effect and a little embankment. So we're going to be doing some testing, probably live, to see if we can make some good looking river tiles. We have a couple options, but we're basically going to paint them and put in tape off the edges and put in like a clear epoxy like substance in order to create this sort of wet effect, but still be handleable. Handleable?
Touchable.
Able to be handled. Okay. So. I'll need to use an X-Acto to get that off later. I think I can rotate this piece now without causing too much of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I'm going to do is refill yet again my little wash cup. I don't want to have too much in it because I hate when you end up having extra at the end. That does mean I end up refilling it a lot. Alright, so similar thing here where I'm going to be avoiding these statues. For the most part. Because they're going to be done in an umber wash, which is just a brown wash. And we'll want to look a little different, so they will stay nice and bright for now.
You look shiny.
I want to make sure I got the inside of these windows, because not only, well, the window itself is in black and won't really get anything. I want to make sure the inside of the windows, the edges of the windows, are matching everything else. Hi. This is Lexi, our DM, just sneaking around behind us. And my wife. Doing something nefarious, probably.
So when I highlight these shingles, it's the key of making them lighter rather than darker.
That would be totally reasonable. Especially since you're planning on washing them with an umber later.
Yeah, just so that the contrast with the edges,
With a little more.
So those will be buff. Once they dry a little bit. I can probably do a touch up on this.
So I am going to let these bricks sort of dry for a while because they're very wet and there is a lot of surface area. So it gives you sort of a sense of how much darker it is though. So I'm going to set that up and I'm actually going to just clean off this brush because it will take a while to dry. And since I don't want to rotate it right away, I'm going to just let it sit there. Which means I'm going to find something to keep myself occupied in the meantime.
That sounds ominous.
Maybe I'll do something like we have purchased these little cats because our 3D printers are not resin printers and they have a harder time doing smaller detail sometimes, especially smaller figures. So we did purchase a couple of these little pre-primed kitties. So maybe I'll put in some base coats on them. Question is, what kind of cats are they?
As long as they're not singing and dancing cats.
Yeah, this one's Old Deuteronomy, and this one is Rum Tum Tugger. I think what I might do for this one, they're sort of like a panther-y, cougar-y kind of thing. What do you think would be good like that? Do you think that might be a pretty solid big cat color for like a black spotted cat?
That could be. A little bit orange, but that might be okay.
I just don't want it to be bright yellow.
No, we don't have any other options. So yeah, give that a go. We can always paint it over.
Yeah. I don't know, what do you think? If I put like an umber wash over it later?
And then you're putting spots on it?
Yeah.
Like a leopard?
Yeah.
Sort of dark brown and black. It actually might look pretty good.
Yeah, I think this color, well, it looks a little funny now on this cat. Once it has spots and then like a brown wash over it, I think it might actually look fairly leopardy. This is just a little project to sort of keep working on something while I'm waiting for the
paint to dry.
I don't know, you don't think like orange would be better?
No, I think that would be, I think this is good.
Okay.
I mean, if you were doing a tabby.
Right, like an orange tabby like mine's, but since I'm not, I'm just gonna get this color on so it can dry.
Okay. So I did the touch up on the cross pieces on the inside of the roof, and now I'm going to paint some random number of these shingles a lighter brown, and then get out the umber wash and put a lot of that on a lot of surface area.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I'm going to do a lot of them, but maybe a cluster like here and there, maybe about 20% of it, representing replacements. Yeah, that's why they're lighter. They haven't weathered as much, or something like that.
Just a slightly different wood, maybe, things like that.
Yeah, it looks real contrasty now, but once the wash is on, it really kind of tones it down and brings it back together.
Mm-hmm. One of the nice parts of the washes is that it puts a consistent tone over everything. So this is a very weird looking cat right now. But after it dries and I put some spots on it and give it a wash, I'll probably wait to do the base for almost the very last thing. You can see a little bit more on the side here, the wash drying. And I'll just give this a little test and see how much it is staying where I want it. It's doing okay. Probably give that a little bit longer. I'm thinking with this cat, since I have two, this is going to be more like a puma, which is the same kind of cat that a leopard is. But they're sort of like a black sable color rather than a orangish yellow spotted color. So I don't want to just paint this black. It'll just look like a black spot, which is bad for pirates and for cats. What I'm actually going to do is take a dark blue so that I can put a wash over it. I could also use a dark gray. I don't know. Which do you think? The field blue?
That's how the blue turns out.
See, and I think
nice.
I think so. The door here is done in this field blue.
With a black wash.
With a black wash, which is kind of what I'm going for with this cat.
Yeah, I mean, it will end up. It won't really look blue.
It will read as black without being pitch black. Because if I did it in black, it would look like one of these windows in here, which is just like you won't be able to see any of the color, definition, or shape to it. It'll just be a black mass. So, by taking this field blue, which is a very dark blue-gray, and is kind of perfect for this sort of thing. Because there's only a couple animals out there that are like, when they're colored black, they're like actually properly black, and they're almost all birds and bugs. Mammal fur, on the other hand, does not get that dark, even if it seems like it. And this is a base coat, so I'm just trying to get the whole surface area covered. The nice thing about a jaguar, a panther, or puma over a jaguar, there's no spots.
No, actually,
Technically, there are spots, but
you're so melanated you can't see them.
Yeah.
So there, I highlighted some of the shingles, and I think that's probably all I want to do on that side.
Keep it nice and simple.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to do something similar on this side.
Oops. And that's one of the nice parts about the base coat. I don't really care if I get it on the base right now, like I just accidentally did, because I haven't painted the base yet, and I will be going over it later, probably with a brown, to set itself apart from. I don't really want to do a gray on the panther, especially, or yeah, panther, because it will. I don't want it to blend in too much. I want it to be distinct from its base, even though it would probably be trying to camouflage itself.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't necessarily, camouflage doesn't show up visually very well for some reason.
Unless it's really bad camouflage.
Yeah.
We do have some nice greens that when you put a little wash on it, look like grass.
I could do a green, yeah. Pumas, panthers are jungle kitties. It looks sort of like a rock, but it could easily be like a field that it's in. What's important is that I am accidentally touching the puma panther with my finger and just pulling off paint where I just painted and getting it everywhere. But before I wash any of these cats, I'm going to have to do a lot of little detailing. Obviously, the spotted one will have a lot more work to do. But I'm going to want to put in some like ivory on the teeth, maybe with a very teeny tiny brush. Their eyes look to be maybe a little too small to be actually visible. So any sort of additional eye I put in will end up just looking like I pasted googly eyes on it.
So there is the roof with little repairs on it. I don't know. I don't think I want to overdo it. I think that might just be enough.
Yeah, it's looking good.
Need to touch up one of these other shingles. Get out the flat earth again.
Drop my puma inside my crypt. Alright, so because this one's sort of standing, it's a little hard to handle. So I'm gonna just touch up a spot or two while it's on the table. Just slide that over with its sibling. Alright. Are you putting in a third color? Or are you just putting in some random splotches, touches up?
I'm touching up.
Alright, back to my crypt. If I check, is it dry enough where it's not gonna disrupt too much of the dark spots? Looking better. So to give you a sample of the difference, this is unwashed here, and that's with the wash, minus the statues, obviously. So unwashed, washed, makes it a lot more dark and moody. I'm going to do this side now because it's my other large side. After I clean my brush, always important to get as much of that paint out as possible. I will undoubtedly need more wash than I have in my cup for this much surface area, but I'll get started and see how far I can get. I'll just quickly get along the top part here. Make sure that gets some coverage. Alright. Well, I just accidentally made a spot with some wash on one of my kitties. The wash tends to be very easy, and sometimes the cap shoots out a drop or two when I open it, unfortunately, but that's completely fixable. Just sort of working my way across all of this brick. Get along the insides of those windows, everything like that. I'm glad you got your good Wi-Fi. Welcome back. I am currently washing my my crypt here. Getting it to go from something bright and cheery like this to dark and moody like that. I'm doing good. How are you? And my dad here wears trifocals and can't read chat and paint at the same time. So if you have any messages for him, feel free to drop them in chat and I will pass them along.
So, yep, I'm waiting for the roof to dry. I painted the shingles and some little highlights where the repairs were done ages ago. And now I'm going to be using the umber wash.
Just like to remind people because it's
be washing the entire roof and all these little wooden bits just to give them a little bit of life. So I need to wait for the roof to dry. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to clean my cleaning cup. And
oh, is that you book streams? I didn't know you changed your username. It's a nice name. I like it. Is it? Oh, cool. Is it Charzader Star, or I want to make sure I'm saying it right?
Charizardar?
It sounds like Charizard Star to me. That's how I'm like. But you know, Pokemon. Grew up with it, so my head always goes there. Well, no wonder I didn't recognize you. Well, Charzader, they're almost identical, honestly. Oops. Accidentally got a little black wash on my statue, so I'll just pull that right off. The nice thing with wash is you can remove it quite relatively easily. Alright, so again, I'm gonna let this side dry because I want it to look sort of dark and moody like that, and with how loose the wash is, it will run out of the cracks that I want it to stay in. So I'm gonna let the crypt sit there and dry a little. I'm gonna take a look at my roof here in the meantime and sort of get a sense of if there's any additions or changes I want to make while it's still slightly wet.
Now we got a new delivery today.
Oh,
Let's see what we got.
oh wow, you got a whole bunch of cups.
Since we've been going through these, we now have 100 of them. If you want to use a new one, we don't have to keep.
Well, I am going to use a cup because I'm putting a little green wash on the roof here to sort of create like an algae effect.
We have one kind of copper.
Yeah, that is a lot of little cups. So is it actually metallic copper?
Well, this one is definitely metallic.
This is
that one might be.
This looks.
So we might have two. We have more ivory because you used that up.
Yeah, that's metallic. Oh wow, we got a whole big delivery of
dark sand.
We got 2 coppers. Dark sand, which is a very, very light yellowy
turquoise.
That's a good color.
And a different kind of plastic putty, acrylic, so you don't have to wear a respirator when you use it.
Oh, that's good.
Because the other stuff, the putty, says avoid contact with eyes and skin. Don't inhale your vapors. Use in a well-ventilated area. Do not use with bare hands. Use appropriate gloves. Do not use near open flame or near children. So yeah, this is kind of scary stuff, but this other stuff is water based, so
Should be a lot better.
it has no warning on it at all.
Well,
So there.
ice cream sounds good. Actually, we have ice cream, don't we?
Mhm. So, well, so we have 100 of these now.
So I just dropped a little green wash in areas on the roof. It's not going to be super visible. Ooh, that sounds really good.
Okay, umber wash time. Should I do the roof first, or should I do, yeah, so I can hold on to all these little bits? Well, I do the roof, and then I can do these later.
Mm-hmm. Well, you already washed all the yellow.
Hmm?
You already washed all the yellow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just need to do the wood bits.
The wood bits, yeah.
But the roof is the thing that needs to wash the most, so let's give that a go.
So,
And we'll see the before and after wash. Yes.
I started these kitties while I was waiting for paint to dry. And I'm gonna touch them up quick now. Yeah, a little bit. I've been building out the body here of the pterodactyl. None of the stuff I've been working on here has been particularly detailed, so I haven't needed to do too much fancy stuff that I need to dab my brush off for. I have some waiting to do on some of this wash for the crypt, and I'm just working on a puma and a leopard are what I'm doing. And the leopard looks really funny right now because it's sort of this orangish yellow color. But that's gonna get an umber wash. Oh, that's so nice. That's really cool. Is that to take with you to college? Gonna do a little spot cleaning on this panther. The downside with this dark blue is it's really easy to see where you need touch-ups. Oh, your college is quite close then. So you're just staying where you are now and commuting rather than doing like a dorm situation? Most of the people I know, see, that's pretty nice. Moving into and out of dorms sucks. I really don't like moving a bunch of stuff in general and having to do it on like an annual basis. It's just really annoying. So that's nice. Yeah, it's coming along pretty nice here, little house.
Yep. So I think with the other two, since there's an entire village of these, I'm basically going to paint them the same way, with the roof and the wood and the stone, but make each one a different color. Like I might do another one in like turquoise or green, and we'll do the same kind of weathering on it to express the individuality of the village members,
Yeah,
such as it is.
dorms can be pretty stressful, I found. So that's nice. Since I'm waiting for this to dry, what I'm gonna do is go prime some of these rivers.
Hmm.
We have these river tiles that will be painted and have a clear, sort of watery looking acrylic hardened over the top of them. And we're going to be experimenting a little, maybe next time, since we're getting close to finishing our current project. Maybe, yeah, and we're going to be experimenting to see what works inside them. We have a couple options. So, first things first, I need to remove the base on this most freshly printed one.
Yeah.
I just knocked your water over.
Yep.
I did not know it was nestled in there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we need to get some more towels. At least almost everything here.
I knew I was going to spill at some point.
So as we're mopping up here, that's wet. Yeah. So you can see the difference. Yeah, sort of a subtle difference between the washed side and the unwashed side. You can see especially how the lighter colored shingles, don't jump out quite as much. So when we get paper towels and clean up the wetness, I'm going to do this side as well as this side. Ooh, a whole half roll of paper towels. We are prepared.
I didn't know it was like nestled right in there. That's a well hidden. Well hidden spot.
Okay, looks like it's mostly cleaned up.
Dry enough.
Dry enough because these will just get used to clean off brushes anyway. Thank you for getting towels.
Yep.
That's really stuck on there.
Just along one or two edges. If I break off the edge, I'm just removing the base float of this river tile.
So I'm going to put a bunch more umber wash in this cup. And wash the other side of the roof. And then the little side wood posts, and I can set this one aside and start another one, probably.
Very exciting. And I'm just over here.
Pulling out chunks of plastic.
Yep.
Trying not to cut anything off.
that I don't want to.
And body parts that
Could be useful later.
Oh, I don't know, fingers.
Maybe. I got really stuck on one edge. Sometimes that happens. I know I'm doing this mostly off camera here.
That way you won't see the blood.
Thank you for your vote of confidence. Alright, good enough. Alright. So I'm gonna run upstairs where it's more ventilated and shoot some primer.
Okay.
On
I'll try to be sort of entertaining. I'm not very good at that, but you never know.
That's a lot of ice cream.
Yep, she'll be back with the primed river tiles. Wonder how those are going to turn out. We got this. Where did they go? Like solid water, it's called, or something. It's supposed to dry in a way that looks still shiny, like water. And you're supposed to be able to put it kind of deep. So it's not just a thin, shiny layer like a lacquer or something that you might brush on. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. Never used it before. But those need to get primed and then painted blue, I guess, of some sort. We've got light blue and a new aquamarine. That might work pretty well. I'm just putting more wash on the roof here. I'm not as good at detailed weathering as Nikki is. Yeah, that's true. Solid water is ice, so that's what it's called. I don't know where it went. It's kind of an interesting thing.
Alright, nice and quick and easy.
Well, that was fast.
Just a quick spray on a couple pieces.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, the water.
Realistic water. We'll see.
These are made for
Do not shake.
do not shake.
No, do not shake. It's the very first instruction.
This is a designed for train sets. The main thing that we're not sure on is whether or not it hardens. It seems like it hardens. You can actually tint it to be different. So if you want like a green water or blue water.
Or it might just form like a skim across the top.
It says let cure until glass clear, at least 24 hours, and you can pour additional layers and cure each layer until it's clear if you want it extra thick. Do not apply heat or a top sealer.
So, yeah, well.
It sounds like it It sounds like it hardens from their description, but that'll be a fun adventure. I think. Alright, this looks like it's safe to rotate and turn. So, I'm gonna wash the front part of my crypt now. And I put some like green tints on the roof where moss might have grown. But that is quite wet still. And my hands are very messy today. The wash days, I always end up having really messy hands. So like I was doing before, I'm going to try and avoid the silver sections of this because I want to go over those in an umber wash. But anywhere I do get on the silver painted parts, I'm going to I can clean off easily. You know, I didn't stay up all night, but I had a really hard time falling asleep last night. I'm not quite sure why. So I was very tired this morning. Luckily for me, coffee is a thing. That can be easy to do. And with how thin wash is, it will be inevitable that some slips onto the silver. But that is something I can clean off on an as needed basis pretty easily, actually. Let's see, almost through all of this. Unfortunately, oh wow, you've grown really quick on that. Alright, so I'm just going to use a paper towel and pull off some of this excess wash that got on the silver parts that I want to keep silver, but I'm going to let that dry and it'll end up being a little lighter as it goes. So I'll set that to the side. Yeah, I don't know how TikTok growth goes, but I know it's a really good platform for that. I know that they seem like they have a really good algorithm for promoting similar content, things like that, which is pretty neat.
Okay. Well.
Alright. Since my hands are completely covered in paint right now, I don't want to handle these kitties too much, because I will just get them.
You will just get them.
But the things I primed are honestly probably mostly dry now. That primer dries really quick.
So why don't you bring them down?
So I'll probably bring them down and we can start playing with them while I wait for this wash to dry.
Laundry day, waiting for the wash to dry. Or not. Okay, well.
It looks like your house is almost done.
I am done with this house.
You're done?
I don't know if the house is done, but I'm done with it. So this is how it's turned out. So your idea of doing a washed out yellow, I think, has actually worked out really pretty well. So I'm going to use the same paint scheme for the wood and the stone on the other two, because there's two more. But probably just use like a different color for that part. Instead of yellow, I've got this kind of turquoise. That might look pretty nice with a black wash over it to look weathered. And there's a blue too. I mean, let's see, the deck tan, and there's a green. That might be okay. So we'll see. But I'm going to paint the wooden parts first, so I don't make the mistake of having to be extremely careful not to touch the weathered part.
I'm back. So, primed river tiles.
So, or here's a thought. This is a ghost house. It's already done.
No.
Anyway, that's how they look different. Painted or not painted.
I think that looks really good with the yellow, actually. I was a little skeptical about it, but
yeah, I think the yellow turned out. So I think I'll try one in this turquoise color.
Well, why don't you paint some river tiles?
Yeah. So how do you want to do these?
The water we'll do with the dark blue, and then we can do some light blue highlights on the tops of the ridges.
So the bright blue color, or
this one. We'll do flat blue.
Flat blue, light blue.
Yeah. So do the river. Do it in dark blue, and then along the tops of some of the ridges, we'll just put little dashes of light blue.
So this is our color chart.
Yeah.
So the water is going to be that color with that highlighted.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we see what the aquamarine looks like?
I think that'll be too gem tone.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm going to do a swatch on the color chart.
Okay.
Now that we have it.
Because this is like a natural looking river, so it shouldn't be too, over the top. But I can work with him. I think, although, I think having the base coat of it be the dark blue makes sense. See, that's like Caribbean.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see when it dries.
But I think doing this is the base.
Okay, so we'll put the house away.
Since you finished it.
Well, I
We
would
can take some.
start a new one.
We'll take some pictures and post them on Instagram.
Okay. And since I'm making color chart, I'm going to do the dark sand too.
Oh, that's a good idea. And the copper.
Yeah, and the copper.
Some of our new exciting colors. And since my hands are messy already, it's a great time to do base coats on things. The question will be the embankments. Do you want them brown, green, sand? I feel like brown or green is probably the most straightforward option. See, I think that'll be a really
that should look pretty good with the
good basic
lighter highlights.
Yeah, some sort of lighter highlight. pink embankments. That would be pretty funny. Very probably kind of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, right?
Since we have dark sand, we could have dark sand banks.
Yeah.
Or not.
Well, I'm thinking, green makes a lot of sense because it's like, but I'm thinking just like maybe like flat earth or something kind of easy and neutral, because that could go in like a forest or a desert or a swamp, Try and make it versatile. And other than some of the edging between the water and the embankment, these are nice and quick to paint because they just sort of big and easy.
Let's put the paint there, or we can switch sides. I'll do one.
Okay. I am going to gently slide these little proto kitties.
I'm going to clean
away
some of the dried paint on the top of the. When it gums up like that,
it can be hard to seal.
You can't get a seal. Yeah.
And then it just causes more gumming and.
Where it can drop into the paint.
Yeah, it's just a mess.
Yeah, so there.
I've basically already scraped the cap clean of paint. So. And getting some of this base work done today will mean when we go to experiment soon here, probably next episode, we will. Oops, that dripped a little.
We're putting the paint all the way up to the top here, because that'll get painted some other color.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure that
it doesn't.
The watercolor goes all the way up to the.
Yeah.
And you're doing the full edge?
Yeah, just in case it shouldn't show.
Just where the water is, right in the middle there.
Yeah. The edges shouldn't show, but just in case they do. Your cat has learned how to open doors. That's always fun. We have a little gate for our dog, and she has learned how to pull it open. So she does so very regularly. which is
Annoying.
fun.
Yeah, the
Okay.
highlighting will be important because the printing made a pretty decent wave pattern.
And we might um, do a little do we have a whitewash?
No,
Oh, okay.
I just ordered stuff too.
I know. I just was just like, wait a second, that would be pretty good.
Well, it's pretty easy to thin down the white paint. Or just dry brush.
Honestly though, we probably don't need to wash it too much because it will have a clear over the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, now we've got blue.
We have some blue. Did you want to do sand or flat earth on the embankments? I think whatever the embankments are will probably be washed with umber
Or green.
or green.
We could do the flat earth with the green wash and see how that turns out.
Does that sound fun to you?
Yeah. And if, if we don't like it, then you just redo it.
I'm gonna check and see how my crypt's doing. Because I would like to have this finished today.
You might be able to put the umber wash on the statues.
I think I'll be able to do the umber wash. It seems dry enough on here. So, these are still pretty wet, but if you want to close up the blue, if you feel like messing around with those, you can. I am going to...
Yeah, I could flat earth the embankments just to do it. You want me to do that?
Sure. Probably won't be able to get the line between them super easily because it's still wet.
I mean, along here?
Along the edge.
Yeah, well, here's the question. How far down? Oh. How far down do you want it to go?
Well, the clear is theoretically going to be near the top.
Yeah.
So
should this be blue here?
Maybe, yeah, actually.
Yeah, why don't I do that? Since it's still out. I mean, if it's blue, you can always paint down onto it.
Yeah.
Just a little bit so that maybe the earth would come down about a quarter of the way or something, or a third of the way, just along the top. So we're going to end up waiting for this blue to dry. And so Tuesday we'll do some highlighting. I mean, the bank can really be done almost any time, but I think we'll practice some highlighting. Just to see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
With the light blue and maybe with a little white.
Yeah. We'll see. I am getting some umber on the silver to create sort of a rusty effect.
And I'm getting blue on my fingers. I didn't pick it up in the right spot.
Actually, I'll probably apply this vertically, even if it's a little awkward. So it's on camera, I'll try and do it at an extra awkward angle. Or just pick it up and
So we're
slide my
gonna
hand.
just put little dams on the ends, I think, with masking tape when we put the realistic water in. Does it tell you to brush this in or eyedropper it in or what? Just do not shake.
Just whatever you do, don't shake it.
Pour it an 1/8 inch deep.
Which is about how deep that is.
Pour it slowly.
Yeah,
Pull out to edges with a stick.
so it's a little thicker
Mm-hmm.
from the sounds of it. And what we'll do is we'll tape off the edges so that the open parts to create a...
Maximum depth 1/2 inch. Well, that can really go pretty deep.
Well, it's made for train sets. So here's a little visual comparison between a rusted statue and an unrusted statue.
Does not cure to a hard surface.
What do you think?
Actually, that looks pretty good. I like that. So it does not cure to a hard surface. Items placed on the top will damage the surface and permanently adhere.
Huh. So it doesn't cure all the
it
way.
stays sticky.
Interesting.
So when you know how you keep the dust off and stuff, we'll have to put them under cover.
Maybe we'll use epoxy.
Well, maybe we'll just see how it turns out, though.
We'll do one test one in one and one test one in epoxy. Yeah?
Yeah, it's a lot of epoxy.
It is, but we know that hardens.
Usually.
As long as you get the mix right.
Okay.
But we'll figure it out.
Well, we'll find out. Because we have these and we can make more.
Easily. We're actively making more right now. There's some rustier statues.
That aquamarine is a pretty color, though.
It is. I think it's a little too much for water.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. A house might be fun painted in it.
Yeah, a house. I was looking at it, this light blue would be a good color for one of these Viking houses, too. That would age nicely, like the yellow did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to take these 100 cups and put them away.
Before they knock over more water.
Yeah. I'm going to put them with the other cups we have, since I have 4 of them. I'll have 104.
Too gross.
Yeah, I mean, when it starts looking like this, then we can move on.
I know we're near the end of the stream, but our music did stop. So let me just fix that. Somehow the loop got shut off. I am almost done with this crypt.
Well, the Viejo copper is not bad. But
Yeah,
that AK copper is really nice.
those are nice coppers.
Mm-hmm. If down in the depths here we wanted to add some dark contrast, we could use the medium blue for that.
We could do that, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll play with it and see.
It'll be a fun experimentation day.
Mm-hmm. Well, the crypt no longer looks shiny and bright. It looks weathered and dark and moody.
Good. Could you squeeze a little tiny bit of green wash?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Like 1 or 2 drops, one drop.
Just like 1 drop.
More mossy roof.
I'm gonna put some moss on some of the pillars.
Hmm.
Okay. So, all of my metal iron parts are rusted now. Almost. No? So it's always good to triple check. I have some green mossy sections on the roof. I'm gonna put 1 extra splotcher in here. Alright. So, last thing I'm gonna do is grab the cup and just put a little of this green moss in a couple spots around on the marble. Maybe on one of these faces. And this is sort of like an algae or a lichen that's just growing on them, so it's gonna be kind of inconsistent.
You know, that wash not only made them look rusty, it gets the features showing pretty well too.
That's the part of the goal, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, this will all look a little different when it's dry, but I will take some pictures of it when it is dry. But for now, I'm going to just lightly place this up on top, drop that in there. So, there is a crypt. It's still a bit wet and shiny, but hopefully it looks pretty good. We'll see.
I think it is really well done. It certainly is.
A lot.
Certainly is weathered. Not fresh and clean. Clean these for you?
Yes, please. Alright. Well, it's 5.
Thank you for joining.
It's time for dinner. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Today is Friday, so our next show will be our D&D stream on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I think ended it in the town of Stillborough, so feel free to check us out then. And thank you for coming and watching. All right, goodbye.